I stood in our living room, unable to fully process the words coming out of Amber's mouth. "I need a break," she said nervously, twisting her engagement ring. "I have feelings for someone at work. Jake and I need time to figure things out. 4 years together, 8 months from our wedding day, and suddenly I was an option." In that moment, watching her check her buzzing phone, I knew. This was not a break. This was a breakup she was too cowardly to own. Instead of fighting for us or begging her to stay, I made a decision that would change everything. I would disappear completely. Before I tell you how I vanished from her life and started over only to have her stalk me months later and face her apologetic parents, hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments where you are watching from. If you have ever had to make the painful choice to walk away from someone you thought was your forever, this story might help you realize you are not alone. I met Amber during my junior year of college at a mutual friend's house party. She was a marketing major with bright blue eyes and a laugh that could light up a room. I was the somewhat nerdy computer science guy who somehow gathered the courage to ask for her number that night. Our first date was coffee that turned into dinner, that turned into a midnight walk around campus. From the beginning, conversation flowed effortlessly between us. After graduation, we both landed jobs in Minneapolis. And, if I joined a software development firm while Amber secured a position at a prestigious marketing agency. We supported each other through the early career struggles, celebrated promotions, and built a shared dream for our future. Weekends were spent exploring the city, trying new restaurants or binge-watching shows together. Amber was adventurous, always planning our next trip or experience. I was the planner, making sure we were building toward financial security and our long-term goals. On our 4th dating anniversary, I proposed during a weekend trip to the California coast. We had hiked to a scenic overlook, and as the sun began to set over the Pacific, I dropped to one knee. Amber cried as she said yes, and the elderly couple nearby, who I had secretly asked to take photos, captured the whole moment perfectly. That night we stayed up late calling our families and friends, both of us deliriously happy. The engagement party was held at her parents' suburban home 2 weeks later. Both of our families had always gotten along well, and they were thrilled about the upcoming merger of our lives. Her father made a touching speech about welcoming me to the family, while my mom showed everyone the baby pictures she had already picked out for our future wedding slideshow. Everyone commented on what a perfect couple we were, how we complemented each other's strengths and personalities. Wedding planning began immediately. Amber had always dreamed of a fall wedding, so we set the date for October 5th of the following year. We booked a charming restored barn venue just outside the city, put deposits on a caterer, and photographer, and Amber found her dream dress on the 3rd shopping trip with her mother and sister. I was involved in every decision, wanting this day to be perfect for both of us. We even agreed on a honeymoon destination without any argument. 2 weeks in Greece, exploring ancient ruins and relaxing on Mediterranean beaches. With wedding plans underway, we decided it made sense to buy a place together rather than continue renting separately. We found a modern 2-bedroom condo in a vibrant neighborhood with great restaurants and parks nearby. Combining our savings, we managed a decent down payment, and my parents generously helped with some of the closing costs as an early wedding present. Moving in together officially felt like the beginning of our married life, even if the ceremony was still months away. Our routine as an engaged couple living together felt comfortable and right. Sunday mornings were spent making breakfast together and planning our week. Tuesday was date night, no phones allowed. We took turns cooking dinner most evenings, though we ordered takeout more often than either of us would admit. Amber had a habit of leaving half-full coffee cups around the house, and I never remembered to put the toilet seat down, small annoyances that we laughed about rather than fought over. Both sets of parents were heavily invested in our relationship. Her parents had us over for dinner every other Sunday, and my mom called weekly to check on wedding plans. Our friends joked that we were the adult couple of the group, the ones who had their lives together while everyone else was still figuring things out. We had joint bank accounts, shared insurance policies, and had even started discussing when we would try for children after the wedding. The first sign of trouble came about 4 months before our wedding date. Amber's agency took on a major new client, resulting in longer hours and a new project team. She began mentioning one team member frequently, Jake, the creative director who had transferred from the Chicago office. At first, I thought nothing of it. Amber had always been friendly and outgoing, making connections with coworkers easily. But then her overtime hours became more frequent. She would come home later, often smelling of wine, explaining that the team had gone for just one drink to celebrate a milestone. When I asked about wedding details, she began responding with, "Can we talk about this later? I am exhausted from work." Appointments with vendors were rescheduled, then rescheduled again. Our Tuesday date nights were increasingly interrupted by urgent work emails that apparently could only be answered immediately. I noticed she had changed her phone password when I tried to use it to order takeout one night while she was in the shower. Just privacy, she explained later. Some of the client work is confidential. She started keeping her phone face down, or taking it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. Still, I trusted her completely. I told myself she was just stressed about balancing work and wedding planning. I suggested pushing the wedding date back if needed, but she insisted October was still perfect. As weeks passed, the changes in Amber became impossible to ignore. Her phone would light up at all hours with notifications, and she would smile at the screen in a way she had once smiled at me. Our weekend plans were increasingly canceled due to work emergencies that somehow always seemed to occur on Friday afternoons. She bought new clothes more stylish and expensive than her usual wardrobe, and changed her hairstyle, cutting her long blonde locks into a modern bob that she mentioned casually Jake said would look more professional. She joined a new gym, despite having complained about my monthly membership fee at our regular fitness center, explaining this one had better classes. Sunday dinners with her family became optional rather than mandatory, and she showed little interest in the updates my mother sent about potential floral arrangements or cake designs. One evening, while doing laundry, I found receipts in her jacket pocket from restaurants and bars I had never heard of. When I mentioned them casually, she explained they were client meetings or team celebrations. The frequency of these outings seemed excessive, but again I pushed my concerns aside. I had always prided myself on not being the jealous, controlling type. Then came the night that changed everything. Amber sat me down in our living room with an unusually serious expression. "Travis, I need to talk to you about something." She began, her voice steady, but her hands fidgeting with her engagement ring. "I have been doing a lot of thinking about us, about the wedding, about my future." My stomach dropped as she continued. "I think I need some space. A break to figure out what I really want." A break, I repeated the word, feeling foreign and wrong. 4 months before our wedding. What does that even mean? After several minutes of vague explanations about feeling confused and needing clarity, she finally admitted the truth. I had already begun to suspect. "I have developed feelings for someone at work," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Jake and I have a connection that caught me off guard. I am not saying I do not want to marry you, I just need time to make sure I am making the right decision." I sat in stunned silence as she explained her proposed arrangement. She would take some time to explore her feelings for Jake, while keeping our condo as her home base. She suggested I could stay with friends or family temporarily. The wedding vendors did not need to be canceled, yet just postponed indefinitely. She still might want to marry me after all. That night I slept at my friend Mike's apartment, unable to bear the thought of lying next to someone who was actively deciding whether I was worth choosing over a newer option. I barely slept, replaying 4 years of memories, and wondering how we had arrived at this point. By morning, my shock had hardened into something closer to clarity. I returned to the condo to gather clothes for work, finding Amber acting surprisingly normal, as though she had not just detonated our entire relationship the night before. "I thought we could still have dinner together sometimes during this break," she suggested, watching me gather my toiletries. "Keep things friendly." Her phone buzzed on the counter, Jake's name clearly visible on the screen. She reached for it, immediately turning away slightly as she typed a response, a small smile playing on her lips. The casual cruelty of that moment crystallized something for me. This was not a break, this was a breakup with a backup plan. I was being kept on hold while she test drove a new relationship. 2 days later, while Amber was in the shower, her unlocked phone lit up on the coffee table. Against my better judgment, I looked. The text exchange with Jake made it immediately clear that their relationship had progressed far beyond workplace friendship or even a crush. They had been physically involved for over a month. Plans had already been made for the coming weekend. A weekend. Amber had told me she needed to visit her sister in Chicago. When I confronted her, Amber's denial crumbled quickly. It just happened, she insisted, as though an ongoing affair was some kind of weather event beyond human control. I was going to tell you everything, but I did not want to hurt you unnecessarily if it turned out to be nothing. Nothing, I echoed, holding up her phone with the evidence of their relationship. You have been sleeping with him for a month while planning our wedding. That is not nothing. Her expression hardened, then shifting from apologetic to defensive. Maybe if you had been more present instead of always working or talking about mortgage rates and retirement plans, I would not have needed someone else. Jake is exciting, spontaneous. He makes me feel alive. From mutual friends, I later learned that Amber and Jake had been seen together publicly for weeks at restaurants, concerts, even holding hands at a farmer's market I used to frequent with her. Our wedding planner reluctantly admitted that Amber had canceled several appointments without telling me, citing uncertainty about the direction of the wedding. The woman I had planned to spend my life with was already gone if she had ever truly been who I thought she was at all. That night, after another pointless circular argument with Amber, I made my decision. I would not wait around to be chosen or rejected. I would not become bitter or vindictive. I would simply leave and build a new life elsewhere. The realization brought an unexpected sense of peace. The next morning, I contacted my company's HR department about internal transfer options. As luck would have it, our Austin office was expanding its development team and needed experienced engineers immediately. My manager, who had always valued my work, fast-tracked the transfer request. Within a week, I had a new position waiting for me in Texas with a slight pay increase to help with relocation costs. I consulted with an attorney regarding the condo we had purchased together. Since both our names were on the mortgage, the situation was complicated but not insurmountable. We had put equal amounts into the down payment, and I was willing to walk away from my equity if it meant a clean break. The lawyer prepared documents that would remove me from the mortgage in exchange for Amber taking full responsibility for the payments. It was a financial hit, but freedom has its price. Quietly, I opened a new bank account at a different bank and transferred my portion of our savings. I called my cell phone provider to get a new number that would be activated upon my arrival in Austin. I redirected my mail to my parents' address temporarily. Each small act of separation felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I told only my closest friend Mike and my parents about my plans. My mother cried not because I was leaving Minneapolis, but because she understood the depth of my pain. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away, she said, helping me sort through which family mementos to take. My father, usually reserved with emotions, hugged me tightly and slipped me an envelope containing enough cash to cover unexpected expenses during my transition. While Amber was at work, I methodically packed my essential belongings: clothes, personal documents, family photos from before our relationship, and a few meaningful books. I arranged for a small moving company to collect these items and deliver them to my new address in Austin. For furniture and household items, I made an inventory and left everything that we had purchased together. Material things could be replaced. My self-respect could not. I wrote Amber a detailed letter explaining my decision. I did not attack her character or express the full extent of my anger and hurt. Instead, I simply stated that I was releasing her from our engagement and relationship completely, that I had accepted a position in another city, and that she would find the legal documents regarding the condo on my desk. I explained that I had left the furniture and most household items, asking only that she ship certain family heirlooms to my parents once she was settled. I wished her clarity and happiness, though those words cost me dearly to write. The final piece of my exit plan was returning the engagement ring to her parents. Though legally the ring was mine to keep or sell since she had broken the engagement, it felt wrong to treat it as a commodity. I drove to their suburban home one afternoon when I knew they would both be there. The conversation was brief but emotional. They seemed genuinely shocked by their daughter's actions, her mother tearfully apologizing for a situation that was not their fault. I left the ring box with them, along with a note expressing my continued respect for them despite the circumstances. Amber had mentioned a weekend leadership retreat with her team, which I now understood meant a getaway with Jake. I chose this weekend for my departure. After she left Friday morning, rolling her overnight bag to her car with barely a goodbye, I took one final walk through the condo we had so happily purchased together. In the living room, I remembered assembling furniture and arguing over where to hang artwork. In the kitchen, I recalled cooking ambitious meals that sometimes failed spectacularly, both of us laughing as we ordered pizza instead. Each room held memories that now felt like they belonged to different people. I placed my keys and the letter on the kitchen counter alongside the legal documents. With one last look around, I closed the door on that chapter of my life. The drive to Austin took 2 days each mile, adding distance not just geographically, but emotionally from the relationship I had believed would be forever. I listened to audiobooks instead of music to avoid songs that might trigger memories. I stayed in anonymous highway hotels and ate at roadside diners where no one knew my name or my story. My new apartment in downtown Austin was modern and anonymous, exactly what I needed. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the vibrant city skyline, a constant reminder that there was a whole world of possibilities beyond my pain. I threw myself into setting up my new space, carefully avoiding any decorative choices that resembled our shared home. This place would reflect only me and my path forward. The first few weeks were admittedly difficult. I would wake reaching for someone who was no longer there. Certain smells or songs would ambush me with memories. But I found healthy ways to cope. I joined a running club that met at dawn, the physical exertion and endorphins helping clear my mind. I took cooking classes at a local community center, reclaiming an activity that had been central to our relationship. I found a therapist who specialized in recovering from betrayal and attended weekly sessions. My new colleagues welcomed me warmly, inviting me to happy hours and weekend activities. I was selective about what personal information I shared, simply saying I had relocated for career growth. This new community knew nothing of my broken engagement or shattered plans, allowing me to present an unbroken version of myself until the inside began to match the outside. 6 months into my new life in Austin, I received notification from my attorney that Amber had signed all the paperwork regarding the condo. Our legal ties were officially severed. That night, I bought myself an expensive bottle of whiskey and toasted to my freedom on my balcony. For the first time since leaving Minneapolis, I felt truly unburdened. Almost exactly 6 months after I left, the texts began. First from unknown numbers, then from email addresses I did not recognize, all obviously from Amber. Please, talk to me. I made a terrible mistake. I need to explain. I blocked each new attempt at contact without responding. From Mike, I learned the outline of what had happened. Jake had ended things with Amber just weeks after I left, apparently moving on to another colleague. She had been devastated, finally experiencing the pain she had so casually inflicted on me. According to mutual friends, she had been shocked to return home from her weekend with Jake to find me gone completely. She had apparently expected me to fight for her, to wait for her decision to remain an option in her life. Amber's parents began calling my parents, seeking my new contact information. To their credit, my parents respected my wishes for a clean break, sharing only that I was doing well in my new city and new job. Her mother apparently cried on the phone to mine, lamenting how poorly her daughter had treated me and how worried they were about her now. I changed my social media settings to private and declined connection requests from unfamiliar accounts, suspecting they might be Amber's attempts to locate me. Despite my precautions, I occasionally spotted her viewing my professional LinkedIn profile, the only online presence I maintained publicly due to work requirements. On a Tuesday evening, 7 months after leaving Minneapolis, I returned home from work to find Amber sitting in the lobby of my apartment building. My heart stuttered at the sight of her, a physical reaction I could not control despite my emotional detachment. She looked thinner, her stylish bob grown out awkwardly dark circles under her once bright eyes. "Travis," she said, standing quickly. "Please, just give me 5 minutes." "How did you find me?" I asked, keeping my distance. "Your new address was on the legal papers for the condo," she admitted. "I flew here this morning. I have been waiting for hours." Against my better judgment, I agreed to speak with her in the coffee shop next door to my building rather than my apartment. I did not want her in my new space, contaminating it with old pain. "Jake left me," she began, once we were seated, a cup of untouched coffee before her. "3 weeks after you disappeared, he was already seeing someone else." It was all a lie. I nodded, unsurprised, but unmoved. I tried to call you to explain, to apologize, she continued, tears forming. I went to our condo, my condo, and it felt so empty without you. Nothing felt right anymore. I realized what I had thrown away. She reached across the table for my hand. I did not reciprocate. I miss you every day, she said, her voice breaking. The wedding date came and went, and I spent it alone, looking at our engagement photos. I made the biggest mistake of my life. Travis. I know I do not deserve another chance, but I am asking for one anyway. We could start over, go slower this time. I would move here, find a job in Austin. I would do anything. When I did not immediately respond, her pleading intensified, her voice rising. Say something. Yell at me. Tell me you hate me. Anything. I flew 1,000 miles to see you. I do not hate you. Amber, I said finally, my voice calm. I do not feel much of anything for you anymore. Her face crumpled, and she began to sob loudly, drawing attention from other patrons. You cannot mean that. We were going to get married. 4 years together cannot just disappear. It did not disappear. I corrected her. It ended. You ended it when you chose Jake. Her crying intensified, becoming a scene that clearly made the baristas uncomfortable. When she began shouting accusations about me being cold and unfeeling, the manager approached and politely asked us to leave. Outside on the sidewalk, Amber grabbed my arm desperately. Please just let me come up to your apartment. We can talk privately. I will show you how sorry I am. The implication was clear and made me deeply uncomfortable. No, Amber. You need to go back to your hotel. Go home to Minneapolis tomorrow. There is nothing for you here. Security from my building, having noticed the disturbance, approached and asked if everything was all right. Amber became hysterical, alternating between begging and accusing me of cruelty. Eventually, they escorted her to the curb and helped her into a rideshare while I returned to my apartment, shaken by the encounter but more certain than ever that I had made the right choice in leaving. 2 weeks after Amber's unexpected visit, I received an email from her father asking if he and her mother could meet with me when they came to Austin for a medical conference. Against my initial instinct to refuse, I agreed to a brief meeting at a restaurant near their hotel. Seeing her parents again was surprisingly emotional. These were people I had expected to become my family, who had welcomed me into their lives and home for years. Her mother looked older than I remembered, the stress of recent months, evident in new lines around her eyes. Her father, always a robust, confident man, seemed diminished somehow. Thank you for agreeing to see us, he began after we ordered coffee. We wanted to apologize in person for Amber's behavior both last year and her recent ambush here in Austin. You have nothing to apologize for. I responded honestly. You did not raise her to behave that way. Her mother dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. We did not raise her to show up uninvited at someone's home either. We are so ashamed of how she handled everything. They explained that Amber had been in a tailspin since I left. After Jake ended their relationship, she had seemed to realize the magnitude of what she had lost. She had been in therapy but struggled to accept responsibility for her choices, alternating between depression and frantic attempts to locate me. She lost her job, her father said quietly. The whole situation with Jake became uncomfortable for everyone at the agency. And then, she began missing work, showing up late. They let her go 3 months ago. I am sorry to hear that, I said, and meant it. Despite everything, I did not wish suffering on Amber. We do not expect you to speak to her again, her mother assured me. We just wanted you to know that we recognize how poorly she treated you and how admirably you handled it. Many men would have lashed out, sought revenge. You just quietly removed yourself with dignity. We spoke for nearly an hour. They asked about my new life in Austin, seeming genuinely happy that I was doing well. As we prepared to leave, her father handed me an envelope. Amber does not know we are meeting you, he said. This is a personal note from us and a check representing your investment in the condo. We know you left your equity behind for a clean break, but it does not seem right. Please, accept it. I thanked them, but left the envelope on the table. I appreciate the gesture more than you know, but I made my peace with that financial loss. It was worth it for the fresh start. Her mother hugged me goodbye, whispering, "You would have been a wonderful son-in-law." I am so sorry. Watching them walk away, I felt a complex mix of emotions. Sadness, for what might have been compassion for their position, caught between their daughter and the man she had hurt, but mostly a sense of completion. This chapter was truly closed now. In the months that followed, I continued strengthening my boundaries. When Amber found my email and sent long emotional messages, I set up filters to automatically archive them unread. When she created new social media accounts to try to connect with me, I blocked them without hesitation. This was not cruelty, but self-preservation. The experience taught me valuable lessons about self-worth that I carried into my future. I learned that walking away from someone who does not value you is not weakness, but strength. I learned that rebuilding after betrayal is possible, difficult, painful, but ultimately rewarding. Most importantly, I learned to trust my instincts and establish healthy boundaries in all relationships. 1 year after moving to Austin, my life had transformed completely. I had been promoted at work, made genuine friendships, and even cautiously begun dating again. I had recently met someone who respected my boundaries and moved at a pace that felt comfortable. She knew my story and understood why trust came slowly for me now. Looking back, I realized that my decision to leave completely rather than wait around hoping to be chosen had been the catalyst for tremendous personal growth. Had I stayed, begged, or fought for someone who had already betrayed me, I would have lost something far more valuable than a relationship: my self-respect. I do not know if Amber ever found her way to happiness or what lessons she took from our story. I hope for her sake that she did. But I know with certainty that my happiness is no longer tied to her choices or her fate. That perhaps is the greatest freedom of all. Have you ever had to make the difficult decision to walk away from someone who betrayed your trust? How did you rebuild afterward? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more real-life stories about finding strength after betrayal. Do not forget to share this video with someone who might need to hear that walking away is sometimes the most powerful choice they can make. Thank you for listening. And remember, you deserve someone who chooses you every day, not just when it is convenient for them.